This is the presentation of the EDTP 399 hat talking about the book Me, Jane, The Childhood Life of Jane Goodall.
Okay, today we're going to talk about Jane Goodall, the girl that dreamed of helping animals and grew up to change the world. And this is a book called Me, Jane, about her life.
The book Me, Jane is about Jane Goodall's childhood life, a story written by Patrick McDonald. Before starting any activities, be sure to read through the entire book thoroughly, showing pictures and answering any questions.
To her dream come true. This is a real picture of her. And that's it.
The first activity to be covered is my trip to Africa for the art section.
Okay class, so we just read Me, Jane, and at the end of Me, Jane, it said that she actually got to travel to Africa. So we're going to talk a little bit today about where she went in Africa. So when she went to Africa, she went to this little part right here in Eastern Africa called Tanzania. It's right below Kenya and right next to the Dominican Republic of the Congo. So in Tanzania, it doesn't look a whole lot like we see in America. It looks like this right here. There's a lot of grassland, there's lots of jungles, and there's lots of animals. So when Jane Goodall was sent there, she was sent to Olduvai Gorge, which is this picture right here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna imagine that we're taking a trip here, and you guys are gonna tell me what kind of animals you think that you would see.
The objectives for art should be, number 1, students will be able to create an art piece that is personally unique with a variety of materials. 2, students will learn how to create art with materials they find outside.
Okay, so we're gonna pretend that we're taking a trip to Africa just like Jane Goodall did. So since you guys saw from the picture, Africa doesn't look a whole lot like we do. So we're not gonna be seeing lots of dogs and cats. So after reading the story, what are some animals that you guys think that you would see on your jungle safari? Ashley?
A lion.
Good, a lion. What other animals do you guys think you would see? Haley?
An elephant.
Good. Now that we have our list of animals, we are going to do a project where you guys are going to write a story about if you guys took a trip to Africa. So what we're going to do is I want you guys to keep these animals in mind.
After making a list of animals with your class, be sure to include an example of what the end result could look like. Encourage your class to be creative with their materials and use them to make various textures to different animals.
We're going to go outside to gather some materials. So I want you guys to think of different materials that you can find outside that you could use to make pictures of these animals. So like for a lion, what do you guys think that you could do? Ashley?
I think we could use leaves to create the mane.
That's a really good idea. So we can write leaves. Do you guys have any other ideas of what we could do? Haley?
We could use twigs as bird legs.
Good idea. So sticks for legs. What else could we do?
A yellow leaf for the monkey's banana.
That's a good idea. I want you guys to think about if you don't want to use your materials to actually make the animal, you guys can do different things that the animal eats, habitats that it lives in, or you could just do a background for it. So we could write yellow leaves. So since we've talked about taking trips to Africa, I want you to think about making the illustrations in your book. So we're going to talk about different textures. So in this one, there's real sticks used, but then these leaves are just painted on. So you guys can touch it and tell me what you think a real texture is and an applied texture is. Ashley?
I think the sticks are the real texture since they're real.
Yeah, so a real texture is when you can touch something and you can actually feel it. And then the leaves would be implied textures because it looks like there's texture to them, but there's actually no texture when you touch it or look at it. So we're actually going to go and gather our materials. So we're going to go on our wildlife walkabout. So if you guys want to go and get in a single file line and gather your materials to put in your bags. Okay, now that we've gathered our materials, we're going to take about 30 minutes to actually make our pictures of these animals. I want you guys to think about implied texture and actual texture when you're making your animals, and then we'll present them to the class.
The next activity to be covered will be called Animal Song for music section. Okay class, we just finished reading Me, Jane, so now we're going to discuss about a little game, and it's going to be animal sounds. So, can anyone tell me, just from looking at it, what you think this word means? No? That's okay, we're just learning it. So, timbre is the character or quality of musical sounds or a voice as distinct from its pitch or intensity. The objectives for this activity are 1. I can demonstrate my understanding of animal sounds and how this can be culturally different. 2. I can connect animal sounds to the correct animal and understand how the sounds vary with a different environment. I want each of you to say an animal from the book that you remember and what you think their sound is. Paige.
A chicken goes quack, 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 quack.
Good. Lily.
A lion goes roar.
Good. Now we're going to listen to their sounds. Yes?
That's a chicken.
Good. This is what a chicken looks like. The next sound. Lily.
That's a lion.
Good. This is what a lion looks like. During this section, it is critical to have examples of what the animals actually look like. Print off pictures of various animals that match up with the sounds. Okay class, now that we've made a list of the animals that we saw in the book and we've identified their sounds, I'm going to play sounds and you're going to look at this list and match up with animals on your table which sound you think you hear. Here's the first one. Can anyone tell me? Good, elephant. So we're going to cross this off. The next sound. The students should be able to correctly identify each animal as you have already given them examples of what they sound like. Keep playing sounds of other animals until all animals on the list are identified and crossed off. All right, for our last sound, here it is. Good. Now we've identified all the animals that we saw and heard from the book. The last activity is called Welcome to the Jungle for the motion section.
Okay class, we've been doing math for a long time, so now we're going to take a little break and play a game called Welcome to the Jungle. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a picture of an animal and we're going to talk about what we would do if we were in the jungle and we came across this animal.
Objectives for this section should include 1. I can use my body to show I'm able to go over, under, around, and through. 2. I can respect my peers' space. And 3. I can listen for cues to determine what action I need to complete.
Okay class, everybody stand up behind your desk. And while we're doing this, I'm going to play music, and when the music stops, I want you to stop what you're doing and look at me and get quiet so we can talk about the next animal. So our first animal we're going to do is a giraffe. So giraffes have really long legs. If you were in the jungle, what would you do if you came across some giraffes? Would you go through their legs, their long, tall legs?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, so I'm going to play music and you're going to walk that way around the room, just around your desk, and we're going to do what we would do if we ran into a giraffe. Good. So now what would you do if you were walking through the jungle and a bunch of birds flew over your head? Would you crouch down so they didn't hit you?
This activity is intended as a brain break. Allow for various motions for your students to stand up and walk around from their desks.
All right, so now we're going to pretend like there are a bunch of monkeys around. Would we try to blend in with the monkeys and walk around going, whoo, 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 whoo?
Yes.
Yeah, so do that, going this way still.
Be sure to include a visual example of what animal the students are imitating.
All right, so now you're walking through the jungle and there are a bunch of spiders around your feet. Show me how you would tiptoe around them so you don't squish the spiders. Right, now we're we're gonna go back to our seats and we're gonna get out a piece of paper and write about our journeys through the jungle.
This concludes the EDTP 399 presentation of Me, Jane.